this didn't happen. We all of a sudden overnight we heard about this dam being built. However, the idea of that dam was discussed during meetings of the Nile Basin Initiative. You know that the Nile Basin Initiative used to discuss joint projects between Nile Basin.
But no mutual agreements were signed between the two parts.
No, so but there were discussions about this idea of having
the mere idea of establishing
but not with that size.
Okay.
It was like
because we didn't know the details. They did not inform us of the details.
No, but it was known. The people from the Ministry of Water Resources that were involved in these discussions and studies at that time, that dam was 14 billion cubic meters of water of storage. The new dam that is being built is 74 billion cubic meters of water.
Right.
There's a huge difference of impact between the two.
If you could give me a firm answer for the question I'm going to ask you now, does that rob the whole project of its legitimacy?
Of course, I mean it's not acceptable to on a transboundary river basin to it's against all international norms to construct an infrastructure that big upstream a transboundary river
against the norms or against the laws,
against the principles of international law,
okay.
against the principles of the water resources and integrated water resources management principles that everybody is
agreeing on,
or at least believes on. And it is very difficult to accept that the main source of water for a downstream country would be affected by such a huge dam without consultation. So whether you know that the circumstances at that time made the Ethiopians think that maybe they can quickly get away with building such a dam or starting to build such a dam.
Right.
But I hope that what's going on now and the discussions that are going now and the negotiations that are taking place now are going to correct that.
Right. Although officials in Egypt say that Cairo has overcome the trust crisis issue between Egypt and Ethiopia, yet Egypt's serious concerns persist over Ethiopia's commitment to implementation of the new dam, the study's results, and with the same measurements that started with, that Egypt objected on. And that while negotiations are going on to reduce the dam's negative impact, Ethiopia is trying to gain time. I mean, now it's 40% the level of construction. They've reached to 40%, and still negotiations are ongoing. So for Ethiopia, it's time is being gained, and there is progress effected on the ground. For Egypt, time is being lost, and I mean the damage cannot be contained once it happens.
Of course, it's a little bit weird and strange to keep constructing an infrastructure while you're still studying the impacts of that infrastructure on the downstream countries. It's a little strange because normally you would undertake all the studies, study all the impacts, and then put the right design that would reduce these impacts or eliminate these impacts on the downstream, and even you would discuss ways of reducing this and ways of managing the structure in the future in a way that would be agreeable by all parties, and in a way that would eliminate any impacts or reduce the impacts, or even agree that this size of impacts are going to be reduced by a specific design or an alternative design. So what's taking place is a little bit normal. Things are being done not in the right order, But as I said, it seems that things may be going back to the normal and appropriate direction, I hope.
Appropriate action.
And
but also, some water and irrigation experts stressed or recommended the need to involve international community with the results of the talks. They said, or they saw that the role of international community is very important in assessing the results or on the impact of the dam on Egypt's water security. In a way to exert pressure on Ethiopia to commit religiously and in a way that they cannot be able to waste time anymore. So how do you see that? And they even recommended some experts from the EU to come and assess the results on the impact of the Renaissance Dam on the Egypt's water security. So how do you see that?
Well, of course, first you have to also involve the people of the countries as well, the stakeholders that will be affected. Usually when you have a study on the impacts, you involve the stakeholders to have them participate, because they are the people that will be affected. However, involving the international community, I think that it's to some extent it's going to be followed in a way, because there is going to be an international consulting firm that will take the studies, that will take over the studies of these impacts, and they agreed, the tripartite group agreed on the criteria of selecting this international consulting firm. There were talks also about assigning an international expert or legal expert that would resolve any conflict over the results of the international consulting
and
firm studies.
That happened before, but in a different way in Taba. But if you could allow me, I'll have to take a phone call now here live. Dr. Sherif Al-Khoureibi, African Affairs expert. Good evening, Dr. Al-Khoureibi.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. And we were talking about the new chapter that is opened between Egypt and Ethiopia in relationships, and maybe that would be a way to resolve the Renaissance Dam crisis or issue between the two countries. We were talking about the tripartite committee that was formed lately after the first one was cancelled or was on hold, and it held its first meeting when Egyptian irrigation minister visited Addis Ababa. This committee is made of water experts from Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, and it's tasked with the implementation of a roadmap within 6 months to be able to assess the whole situation. It will conduct studies on the impact of the dam on the water security in Egypt, and also environmentally, socially and economically on both Egypt and Sudan. The studies will be conducted through also another international consultancy bureau based on the recommendation of the final report. If you could give us your input over what's happening in this new tripartite committee, and if this is going to be a final round.
First of all, I want to say that before President Sisi, the situation was completely complicated because the behavior of the former president. After His Excellency President Sisi coming, everybody, not only in Ethiopia but in Africa, they recognize that we have a good leader, and he understands what he's doing, and Egypt is set to be again, as it used to be, the leader of Africa. That's why we reach to an understanding. Number two, I want also to say that the ambassador of Ethiopia in Egypt and the ambassador of Egypt in Ethiopia, both of them, they are a great guys, and they played a very big role to make the situation much better and to facilitate the negotiation between the authorities in Egypt and in Ethiopia. Number three, the Minister of Irrigation, Dr. Hussein, also is a good man, and he is, normally the Minister of Irrigation, he should be semi-politician and semi-technical, and that man also, he has a very, very good character, and also he started his negotiation with